Hello there, and welcome to episode 4 of We're of course back in the game, Rob, with an extra in.
An extra in, apparently, yes.
So thanks to Postman Gav for pointing that out well over a week ago without actually pointing it out at a time where we could have done something about it. Interestingly, I've looked at everything I submitted to iTunes and it doesn't have in. So it looks like someone at iTunes has added an in.
Yeah.
We've had an in from iTunes, Rob.
We have. We're in. We're in there, Nathan.
We're in there.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, so apologies to anybody who was put off by the fact that they tuned in for the premiere podcast back in the game and ended up with back in the game.
Yeah.
So apologies to you. If you're still listening, thanks. This episode title's called Redacted.
Oh.
Following on from last week.
It is.
We discussed lots of very controversial subjects.
We did.
And didn't get a single complaint about the content. We didn't get a complaint at all.
No.
In fact, we've had 10 5-star reviews now.
Excellent.
10.
Oh, thank you to everybody who's reviewed the show.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And we got onto New and Noteworthy.
We did.
With the iTunes people. And we're on Stitcher.
Oh.
And another one that I can't remember the name of that I put
iTunes?
onto. No, that was the first one, wasn't it?
Are we on SoundCloud yet?
We're on SoundCloud. Although, weirdly, the free membership to SoundCloud is only allowing us to put one episode on at a time and then delete the old ones.
I think it's done on time.
Yeah.
You have like a certain amount of time.
So, we can't be constrained.
No.
I refuse to be constrained.
It's true.
So if we're
no cloud can control us.
So I officially think the subtitle to this show could also be Too Big for SoundCloud.
True. Or Old Man Shouts at Cloud.
You know, like when John Lennon said that
shouted at a cloud.
They were bigger than Jesus. We can categorically say we're too big for SoundCloud.
Yeah, it's true.
SoundCloud bulges at the seams when we enter it.
SoundCloud's also in that building from Zoolander. You know, the really small one that was at least 3 times too small for children to learn in.
Yeah.
They bought that and they use that as their headquarters now.
And I heard they went on holiday to the tiny Stonehenge from This Is Final Tap.
They did, yes, that's very true.
Yeah. So, And you'll also be noticing, Rob, that we're not using microphones this week.
We're not, it's very exciting.
Because when we've used professional level equipment, it hasn't worked.
It hasn't. It's been an utter shit show, I think
instead,
it's fair to say.
Boys and girls at home, we're only using the onboard mic on a MacBook.
Yeah.
This is a MacBook, isn't it?
It is.
It does say MacBook on it.
It does.
MacBook
Pro, no less. That's how professional this podcast is. MacBook Pro.
Huh.
You impressed?
Oh, I just said we weren't using pro equipment.
Oh, yeah. You
So
lied.
this
Would you
is-
lie to people like that, Nathan? Why would you do that?
I'm sorry, people. So, yeah.
That's a 4-star review in the making there. Nathan is a liar, otherwise good.
Going in my bag.
Oh, he's going through his sack.
Look what I've got.
Wow.
Tell everybody what it is.
Shaq Fu The Return on CD. Shaquille O'Neal looks pretty menacing in that shot. That's a scary looking man right there.
If you remember, Rob, back early on when we started off, I was suggesting ways people could support the show.
You did.
And it was you could go to the website, click on the support button, and send us some money to buy microphones.
Yep.
Or, jokingly, buy a Shaq Fu. So we can have a shelf of Shaq Fu.
Shelf of Shaq Fu.
Well, we've now got Shaq Fu.
Yay, the shelf has officially begun.
This was sent in by an anonymous person who I'm choosing to call Shaq Zero. You know, like Patient Zero.
Yeah, I get it.
Shaq Zero.
That's good. I like that.
It's not Shaq Fu the game, though, which I expected.
That's a start.
When you talk about Shaq Fu, I only ever think of the game.
It's true.
I didn't even know there was a CD by Shaquille O'Neal.
I knew there was a CD. I couldn't have told you what it was called, though logically I suppose Shaq Fu would have been in there.
Well, let me run you through the tracks.
Just quickly, this is Shaq Fu The Return. Surely that means there is another CD out there.
Well, I'm wondering whether Shaq Fu the game
beginning.
is a sequel to the game.
Ooh.
Like, I haven't opened
So that might actually be a CD-ROM, not an album at all.
That would be brilliant. I'll be reviewing this next week. I've left the cellophane on.
The 1 hour playtest, I finished it.
Well, I don't know if it is an hour. I think it's about 48 minutes.
You don't get what you pay for.
The first track is called No Hook.
Oh.
And it says featuring Prince Rakeem, the RZA, and Method Man. I've heard of the RZA.
RZA.
Oh, that's the stuff you roll cigarette papers with, isn't it?
That's RZA. RZA from the much acclaimed Wu-Tang Clan.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it, RZA?
Yeah.
Or is it RZA?
I think this is one of these ones where he changed his name around a lot to be a bit cool.
What, like Prince?
Yeah, a little bit like that.
And Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Right. So we've got
and
Newark.
P. Diddy, P. Doddy.
So here's interesting. This one's got
Puff
features
Donald.
Keith Murray. It's called Newark to CI.
Keith Murray sounds like a golf commentator.
It does. Track 3. Now this one sounds a bit worrying. I don't know whether this is a parental issue or it's something to do with how he likes to wash his clothes, but it said biological didn't bother. Open brackets, G-Funk version, close brackets.
That does sound like a detergent reference to me.
Track number 6 is Mic Check.
That's a bit late by track 6.
Yeah, that's...
It's been turned off, Shaq. Can we start at the beginning? No,
Yeah.
Shaq does one take.
3 minutes and 47 seconds of that,
Yeah,
featuring
problems.
Little Ali Scratch there.
Uh-huh.
Which
I like Tiny Tim, but for the street.
and yeah, Shaq's got it made. Say You Want to Be Hardcore, Nobody, Freaky Flow, and then Biological Didn't Bother again. The original flow comes at the end after the G-Funk version.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a messy layout. The
Yeah.
mic check should definitely be at the beginning.
Oh, you'd have thought so.
But I will listen to this, and I will get back to you and the boys and girls at home. Not the guys and gals, as I referred to them on Twitter today, which I then realised after it sent and was favourited that that's pretty much what Jimmy Savile used to say. So I didn't intend it to be an accidental Savile. You know, like when they have accidental partridges, where people say stuff at Alan Partridge. I basically did an accidental Savile. I think what I said, not what I did.
The problem is, inevitably, I think you're going to end up doing these incidental Saviles or accidental Saviles, and we're going to end up with a Savile row of just things you said that you shouldn't have done.
Did you work on that?
No, I just thought of that. I just thought of that while you were saying it.
If you're not careful, we'll have a Savile row. So yeah,
it's hard to believe none of this is scripted.
It is. It is. We have got a piece of paper, as always,
We
with notes written on, where you've basically just written in something that I hadn't put on the running order.
Yeah, that's a note. It counts.
We started recording a little bit later because we had a chat with a new potential co-host called Mark. That's what I'm going to call him.
Okay.
He drives a car with Xbox written on it.
He does.
So that's good credentials.
It is.
And he produces videos of games as well. So he's going to be producing some videos for the website and hopefully getting involved in the show. So you'll hear more from him over time. This is just really, on podcast, us proving that there is more than just us two in the world.
It's true.
There hasn't been an apocalypse in Wisby.
Has not been.
It just looks like that normally.
Yep.
So Shaq Fu's on its way. Elder Scrolls Online.
Yes.
Coming to next gen consoles,
and
Rob.
free.
Is that going to make you... Well, the game's not free on next gen consoles.
Well, no, obviously not. But the subscription that was originally spoken of,
TSO, as it was then,
has disappeared. There is going to be a plus version, so you get in-game content. But
it's a nice way to get
the idea of the basic.
I think
subscription.
What will be good is if it's like one world that all different versions go into, which I know they were going.
I don't think it's going to.
If that had been,
I only read it very briefly earlier. I was like, ooh.
But then, do I want to be playing with people that play on a PlayStation 4?
I think the worlds are going to exist within their own sphere,
like an alternate dimension.
Perhaps.
Wouldn't it be amazing if there's just like a window you could look through, and then your mate with the PS4 version could also look through and just wave at you?
There's like a wood. It's like the Nightmare Before Christmas. And there's different trees.
Yeah, just doors.
Different doors, and you can go.
One with a PlayStation logo on it, one with an Xbox logo, one with Sega on it. That's just boarded up, out of business.
Boarded out of business.
A Nintendo one that the door's only big enough for a 7-year-old to get through.
Yep.
And then like PC one where it's just solid gold.
Yep.
And you have to be a VIP because you've got to be elitist to go in there.
Yeah.
And then a Mac one where there isn't a door.
No. It's actually just transcending time and space.
It's just an apple hanging on a tree.
Yeah.
That's all it'll be. So yes, that's quite exciting. I have been waiting. I was talking to a customer this week and he was saying I had this little booklet that I took when I worked at Game. I brought it home with me. It was all when the PS4 was first coming out. It was like what to expect. the accessories and the games. And the only major game that hadn't come out was The Witcher 3 and Elder Scrolls Online. And we joked saying, this will never go out of date because it's always going to be coming soon. And then the next day they announced a date. Yeah. Ruined it, frankly. Ruined the joke. Which seems to be a theme this week because we were also going to talk on Tuesday, because we recorded this on the Thursday because you were poorly sick.
I was.
We were going to talk about how The Sun had finally banned page 3. Huzzah! Down with nipples in the news.
Yeah.
The only tit on the news should be Paxman. And that was a joke written down. But then we were told that they've not given up.
They were just trolling everybody.
They had, was it a mammary lapse of concentration or something like that?
Something
mammary
like that.
lapse.
I just like the whole thing with this, that basically The Sun trolled everyone else. It's not often you'll hear me defend The Sun. I kind of like what they've done here because obviously there's this big campaign, and to be honest, I'm kind of getting a bit fed up with people telling me what I can and cannot look at. You know what's there. You know what it is. You know what The Sun's all about. Buy it or don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it, surely.
Yeah, I mean,
this isn't one of those things where if you ignore it, the evil is going to grow, because it doesn't work like that. It's a newspaper. This isn't like ignoring the National Front to the point where they grow so big that National Front is the premier political party in Great Britain. This is a newspaper. Everybody knows it does this thing, and some people don't like it, and some do.
Yeah,
and it's just this thing, and basically they just went, okay. And the amusing thing was, I saw a little screenshot of the page on Twitter. Rather than having a woman fully topless, they just had two women in bikinis running around on the beach, which is an amusing little step in its own. But of course, all these other news outlets went, it's gone, page 3's gone, end of it, the activists have won. Even the Times, also owned by the same news group, went like, it's dead. And then today, came back in all its glory going, all right.
Yeah, that's weird. And obviously Sky are now telling you that you can't watch porn unless you choose to.
Yeah.
Well, not just choose to,
well,
but choose to say that you want to.
Putting the parental filter on by default, so
you
basically have to turn it off, which comes back to the point I just made before about I'm kind of getting pissed off of being told what I can and can't look at.
Yeah.
Because it's the nanny state thing. You know, give people their own responsibility to run their own lives, their own households.
It's like,
raise their own kids, because that's the thing. Think of the children!
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of the Daily Mail campaign. That's Mac Mail.
Mac Mail?
Yeah, the
BR.
picture of the stamp. Oh, no, that's Adobe Bridge.
Oh, I thought it was like the Breaking Bad logo.
No.
Because it looks a bit like the BR, doesn't it?
It does a little bit. So anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted.
I'm talking about Adobe products. But yeah, I'm just kind of pissed off with this whole thing. Because it's basically telling you what to do.
But it's like the laws the government passed recently where it's like you can't have spanking and humiliation in porn anymore. And it was like, most of it is what's aimed at what women find attractive. If you look at 50 Shades of Grey, pretty much everything in 50 Shades of Grey is now banned, in British porn at least. You can still buy it from everywhere else.
Yeah.
And I had no real interest.
You're the only man in the world who buys porn, I think.
I don't. I
buy porn? What?
I've never bought it. I always walk down the railway tracks and look for a bin bag.
See where Dr. Hamhock's left it.
Yeah. But no, this all comes back to games. So Hotline
Leisure Suit Larry. Oh.
Well, no, Hotline Miami 2, which was refused a certification in Australia because of digital rape, or pixel rape, basically. I don't know if you've followed the story.
Loosely.
Have you played Hotline Miami?
I have not.
Basically, it's like the original GTA games in terms of design. Really hard, quite kind of grim, but in a knowing, sardonic way.
Yeah.
Hotline Miami 2, wrong number. I'm very excited about playing. But there is a scene in it where you go in and it's implied that you're either raping someone from behind or anally. But because it's pixels and it's a bit blurry, that should be okay. Now, in a sense, it's a game in which you can brutalise people and murder people.
Yeah.
You are not a nice man. Right? I'm a nice man.
You are crossing a lot of moral lines.
So you can't suddenly say that this horrible, hardened criminal would be very respectful to women.
Yeah.
I know people... I mean, you look at Justin Bieber. He's not respectful to women, but he wouldn't be said that he should be banned in Australia. He should. He should be drowned. But at the same time, I don't mean just drowned. Like, put him through the witchcraft test. Because
does he weigh more than a duck?
Well, no, just the duck in the stool thing. Because he wouldn't live. And that would be okay. But with this, it's kind of like, I can kind of understand that the developers have put it in, and it has a place in there, in the tone, but at the same time, I can't help but think that it is controversy bait.
Yeah.
Like, it is such an objective thing, especially in the light of Gamergate.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who were threatened with sexual violence.
Yeah.
And it's almost like saying, well, you wanted to do that horrible thing to Elita Sarkeesian. Well, here's a game where you can sort of do that. And they're not making a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
It was kind of shown in early footage, and they said, it might not be in there, and now it's suddenly in there. And then Australia refused certification, and Devolver, who were putting it out, said, just pirate it. Just get it illegally.
Yeah.
Which, again, is kind of then sort of saying, well, we've illustrated these illegal acts, and now it's been banned, but we're going to encourage you to be even more illegal.
So that geolocking
Because you
thing
can't turn around and say,
it's another subject.
well, it's okay to pirate. A lot of indie developers, in particular now, have no issue with piracy because they'd rather people. Well, I say no issue. Of course, they have an issue. But they understand that piracy isn't the death of gaming. That sometimes it's the way that people try them. It's like a demo process. And so, kind of saying circumvent the laws of your country to play this game, or we've made something questionable. They could have just released a version without it, and they chose not to.
Yeah.
So I find it very hard to defend, and I'm all for freedom of speech and do what you want, but it is very difficult to think. Well, you could have just had that scene go to black.
Yeah.
You could have the noise. You could have had it suggested and implied because
also
you should
do a lot of
have
games like Fable, isn't it? The sex is implied by noises on
challenging content has to be in games. Full stop. You've got an 18-rated game that should be challenging. It shouldn't just be violence for the sake of violence. It should be asking questions and making statements. And putting a rape in a game is definitely making a statement.
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure you're making the right statement with the right.
You've got to be able to justify it when challenged.
Yeah.
It can't just be there to, as you said, controversy bait to drive sales.
So you look at The Sun and the argument about having page 3. Realistically, that's completely polar opposite of what this is. I mean, this is like, here's this kind of seaside postcard, very kind of... It is something that's a grubby side of Britain. It's not. I don't find it offensive in any way whatsoever. No. I just... for me, it's part of Britain. My son, not so long ago, my ex-wife was saving the tokens to have a cheap holiday or something. And she was having tokens of it, so she bought the paper. And he'd seen it on the back seat, so opened it and had seen page 3. And was so amused that there were boobs on it, he pushed it up against the window of the car and just pointed at it, smiling his head off. So, I mean, he wasn't, like, mortified. It was probably more embarrassing for my oldest, to be honest, because he's 13 now, so he'll be, like, crossing his legs and trying to find a pillow somewhere in the back of the seat of the car, and there isn't one. But when you, like I said, with games, I always find that any sexual content seems to immediately be like, what? Like, you think the hot coffee mod, San Andreas, was like, oh, you can have sex again. Well, you could have sex before. Yeah, but this is a mini game. What?
Yeah.
What difference does that make? Like, GTA 5, you could be a dog having sex with another dog in first-person view now on next gen. Like, it's like it should be in there because you gangbanger, you're doing drugs, you're
shooting people, breaking into houses.
Oh wow, he's had sex. He's had consensual sex. This is terrible. You can't show that, but you can have someone just like push their head down in your lap. It doesn't make sense to have that argument where it's like it's okay on that level, but it's not okay on this. Now, rape is different, obviously, but then at the same time, it is, like I say, it is one of those games that questions a lot about inherent violence and morality. And that game, Hatred, that got banned by Steam or said was never going to get released on Steam, and inadvertently then made everybody want it more. When if they just released it, it probably wouldn't have had a huge amount because people would have played it and either appreciated what was trying to be said or understood what the developer was hoping to portray, or just been appalled and not played it.
Yeah.
And instead, you kind of create this false hype where people suddenly want to play it because they're
last
told.
Week, didn't we, with Firestarter when BBC One.
If you're told you can't have it, you want it more.
Yeah.
It's like this dry. I don't know if anybody is doing the dryer fleet thing. Like dry down.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people
and like
on Twitter.
Some people are joking and laughing about it, saying, "Well, it's not that difficult to go without a drink." Well, for some people, it is. It's a part of social life. It's part of going out on Friday night. Yeah. I think a lot of people who work in high pressure jobs really would find that difficult. I know a lot of teachers who a glass of wine is the only way they can switch off after a day and get a few hours sleep before they go out.
There's constantly studies about people in high pressure professions, especially with long hours, high pressure. MPs are one of them.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're charged with running the country.
But they're not paying for their own alcohol.
No, but the principle is the same. They could go off and do something else with whatever money you want to say.
It's easy when you sort of sit there and think, well, I don't really drink very much. It's not that difficult. It's like saying to somebody, well, give up smoking for 1 month.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. It's a vice for some people. And so with this kind of whole Hotline Miami thing, and then conversely, obviously, the sky and the sun, I will find it very interesting as to whether they stay to their guns. Like, part of me really wants them to stick to their guns and just say, look, we've committed to this. That's the game we're releasing. Because that I would admire. Although I don't agree necessarily, I wouldn't want them to just then say 6 months down the line, well, actually, we took that scene out now. Yeah. We've had all our free publicity.
Please buy it.
Yeah, I don't want that. I want it to be, if you're going to do content, stick to what you want to do. So anyway, that's whole grubby affair.
Yeah.
Deirdre Barlow's dead.
I know.
Anne Kirkbride has died.
She has.
I'll tell you about... It's not really gaming related, but it is.
Okay.
There is a way to link Deirdre Barlow to gaming.
Okay.
At Christmas, think back to the year 2000.
Okay.
It's nearly the millennium.
It is.
And all the computers in the world are going to break in
Allegedly,
in a week and a half. Planes will drop out of the sky, traffic lights will stop functioning, everybody will just drive into each other. Yep. Like they always do when traffic lights don't function.
A bit like Wisbeach and the traffic lights near Tesco breaks.
Oh, it'll be terrible.
Yep.
She won't be able to buy food because the tills won't work. And so we were all living in fear, weren't we? You remember those days?
Yeah.
It was awful. And it was a week before Christmas, and I was tidying up bits, and I was looking at my tower PC. I got it from Time Computers. It was a time machine, as they called it.
Time machine.
And that really was way back in the day. It was back in... I think if I remember rightly, I was planning a party for New Year's Eve where we were going to party like it was 1999 for 25 minutes and then party like it was 2000.
Did you have Disco 2000 by Pub all queued up and everything?
No, I think we had Will Smith's Millennium. I can't remember whether that came out before or after the Millennium.
It must have been.
I know I had a party where we did play that, but I don't know whether that was New Year's one.
You had 1999 by Prince, and the playlist just could have flipped over.
I'm looking at this PC. And I'm thinking, I really hope it doesn't go wrong. And then I had this genius idea where I'd turn the clock back myself because it worked okay this year. I turned it back to the year before, but not like the year before, but the last time the days were the same as the year was after. Because sometimes they do. Like,
I'm starting to understand why your T-shirt says 1984 on it now.
It's the year I'm living
just keep rolling the clock back.
It's why I think a video shop is a viable business.
I've got a new business based on a TV show, but for videos. Bob Holness might work for us. I'm not sure if he's going to agree to it. But
and we're going to get the Suite to do the theme tune for it. But Blockbusters, just for the people at home who are stupid. There's only one of them. Postman Gav. So I was sat there and I was looking at the PC and I was thinking I'll set it back to the last time that the year was the same dates and then it will still run fine and my computer won't go wrong and I'll still be able to play Theme Hospital, which is pretty much all I played. That and Dungeon Keep was all I played.
That was available for free on Origin this week.
I know. I've already bought it, but I've got it on Origin now. So I've got it on Good Old Games before, but now I've got it on my Origin account as well.
A lot of fun memories of Theme Hospital.
Yeah. You've been playing it?
No.
Why not?
Because I've got a Mac. And I've been playing other things which we'll talk about later.
Yes. So
there's a running order. We've got this piece of paper for a reason.
So I'm sorting out the PC tower and
I got Deirdre Barlow.
And I took my glasses off and I popped them down like I've just have now.
Yep.
And I got the tower to turn it round to unplug the lead, right? Because I was going to move it and then go and set it all up. And I knocked the tower over.
Yep.
And where are my glasses?
Ooh.
So what happened?
Ooh. Well,
I broke my glasses.
I can only imagine.
They were smashed. Smashed by a
beyond all repair.
And you remember, a PC in 1999 was like 6 foot tall and 3 foot wide.
The size of a small fat child.
It was capable of like loading a web page at 17 lines a second.
What version of Netscape Navigator was that on by then?
I had just got a dial-up modem for it at that point, I think.
Did you get free AOL CD with it as well?
98 at the end. Do you know, I wasn't on AOL. Everybody was kept trying to persuade me to go to AOL, but I didn't go to AOL. I can't remember who I went through.
I think AOL was good for about 6 months.
It may have
fell over.
It was something like DialNet or something. It was some weird, doesn't exist now thing. So Time Computer doesn't exist anymore. A company that had my email address was a Rocket Mail, which I think was BT related.
Possibly.
So
I had Talk21, which was BT related.
Yeah. So so I broke my glasses. And it was the week before Christmas. So there was no way of getting an appointment at the opticians. And I went in, let's say, look, I've got what's left of a lens. Can you get the prescription? No. Can you give me an eye test? No, we can't give you an eye test. We've got nobody in. We're all booked up. It's Christmas. you should have booked ahead. And I went, look, have you got like a stable around the back where if an optometrist will just see me quickly, like a
No Sizzlax optometry.
A donkey will just be able to make me a pair of glasses or something. There's a star, it's brought me here. It's Christmas. And I was told no, I couldn't have a pair of glasses. So they said, you got two options. You can either buy a pair of reading glasses, like just guess your prescription, try a load on, buy a pair of those, but they're not really for long distance. And I'm, where you can't see distant, and I never know where I'm short.
You can't see distant.
So I can see to about there. Like if I took my glasses off, you go blurry, it's appealing. But I like to be able to see definition. But they hadn't got any that I could see.
Yeah.
So I went home, I was quite miserable. And my girlfriend at the time, her mum, had very similar eyesight to me. So she was like, see if any of my old glasses work. The only set that was comfortable and I could see with were these massive Deirdre Barlow style glasses. Yeah. And I wore them for about 4 weeks.
Excellent.
And very often I would forget I was wearing them and go to the shops. And I walked everywhere at the time. So once I'm out, I've committed to that.
Yeah.
So, I got lots of jokes about Elton John, about Dennis Taylor, and about...
stole all the jokes I was going to make already.
Yeah, they'd done it. They did it all. But, so Deirdre, that was my nickname for a while, Deirdre. Yeah. And she died this week, so
she did.
That's a shame.
Well, it's always sad when somebody dies.
Well, I thought when they first said Deirdre, because it said Deirdre Barlow dead. And I thought it was just the plot from the show, because they had a van crash this week. I thought, she's going to die in a van crash. No, she's just dead. So, there we go. What a shame. Let's talk about some games we've been playing, shall we? Rob, you go first, because I've been chatting about Deirdre Barlow, and I want to eat the rest of this biscuit. So you've been playing some more Destiny, have you?
Yep, Destiny's a pretty stock title for me at the moment. Usual Nightfall Strikes and such and such. Football Manager, again, another stock one for me. In the beautiful, realistic world that is Football Manager, I've managed to
Have you still got the tall man with the ponytail?
I have. I've also signed Brazilian superstar Neymar to Peterborough United. Because Football Manager is just that realistic.
Isn't he...
He's the one who got... no, he's the one who got kneed in the back by a Colombian and broke his spine before Brazil got basically buggered by 11 athletic Germans.
Who am I thinking of? Namor in Marvel.
Yeah.
That's not Aquaman, is it?
That's a completely different character.
That's DC. Who is he?
Submariner.
Submariner.
That's it, sorry, I was trying to think then. I was just filling for time while I was trying to think of his name.
You've signed a Submariner to play for PBA.
I have, yep. And then he got injured in his second game. I was sad. Tapped out again.
You should have had a fish with him.
I should have. I
know. Called on with his trident.
That's
tapped out.
Yeah.
Nice about snow, isn't it?
Oh, lovely about elves more than anything.
And it's nice to have I don't know if you've got him, the shirtless Willy.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you people who aren't playing Tapped Out anymore, you can't look at the shirtless Willy working a crank. Just grinding away. It's a good storyline. I'm liking it. It feels like a Simpsons episode storyline like they used to do. And it's got back to what was good with that event. So hopefully the next event, which will be Valentine's Day, will be a small fair.
Hopefully.
Small affair, not small
Even
fair.
though they just did like a week long
one. Small fair, that'd be quite nice. Yeah, I don't like this whole kind of necessity to have one running all the time. Family Guy did New Year's that I talked about last week.
Respect them.
And then this week they've done, the two like British weightlifter fitness guys. Boxing. They've got those. Knockable this week. So it's a whole thing about people on New Year's going on a fitness thing. Yeah. So it's kind of nice that instead of them doing...
ties in with something you can relate to.
And then they've also got Pawtucket Pat, Phil, whatever his name is, the Willy Wonka rip-off. They've got his factory as well. So they've got storyline with there as well. You've got Stewie as a little Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
And so that's quite nice. And I like that. And I wish the Simpsons could do that a bit more.
Yeah.
But the problem is Family Guy's always been more taking the mickey out of actual life, whereas The Simpsons have been more... The world is so in-depth and created and dense that it seems to be kind of working on its own stuff. And obviously the new story like The Simpsons is the power plant is restricting electricity to VIPs, which is good. So we'll be talking more about that next week once that plot line gets out. It's nice. It's nice that it's not so demanding of you. You can just play a casual game casually.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key. Go through it. And it says on here you've been playing Tomb Raider.
I have. I finally broken into my pile of shame, which we talked about in episode 1. And it's
nice to know that the listeners know that you're not a liar.
True. Like, not a complete liar.
You haven't just played Tapped Out Football Manager and Destiny every week forever. I mean,
I have, but I've also played something else.
We've got a running order, but those three are on the like the permanent
They are.
template.
They're
not.
They're the first names on the team
I
sheet.
didn't add those. But so Tomb Raider. So
Yeah.
how far in are you?
I think I'm about halfway.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it does pull you in very
Oh,
quickly.
yeah. I'm really enjoying it, actually.
Have you got the... you've been climbing up mountains with your hook?
Yep.
Yeah, up the walls and stuff. Have you... I'm trying to think. I haven't played it for a while. I started playing the HD version. So I bought it for the Xbox One. I really loved the 360. I genuinely think of all the reboots I've ever played, Tomb Raider absolutely nailed everything right.
Yeah, I'm loving it so far. I really am. And I've got a checkered history with adventure games. That's what I'd call it.
Well, this is it. Because it's not an adventure. It's not a Tomb Raider game, really.
No.
Because
a
lot of people complain.
I struggled with it when I was younger.
Yeah, they said they missed all the puzzle element. And it's like
I don't know if they have.
You've got the side things, but the game itself is more... The puzzle is survival. There is still an element, like... say like the first Tomb Raider, where you had that bit where you had to kind of climb up the outside of that room and jump. I don't know if you ever got that far, but it was basically a room. You had to climb up, and if you fell, you had to start right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was just an exercise in frustration, really. With this one, they've got that kind of puzzle.
Yeah.
Like you have these multi-layered
Yes,
areas.
I encountered one last night.
And you're like, well, I know I've got this bow and arrow that fires rope, and I've got this one that sets fire to things, and this one that pulls things, and this one that makes a bridge, and this one that kind of lets me climb, and that one does this and does that. And suddenly, you've always got like Portal, where you've got the tools to get from point A to point B, but you can't go to point C yet, because you haven't got this bit. You can see it, and it's there in the level you're in right now, and I love that.
Yeah.
Like just that moment of, this is so well designed that you don't have to go to a whole new area. Like a new area, or there'll be a shortcut through it the next time you come, because you'll have unlocked something that means you haven't got to do that arduous task again. And she dies a lot, in really grim ways.
Yeah, I had a couple of incidents yesterday, trapped in waterfall, caught me. So I was going down the river, I got impaled at least 2 or 3 times, quite painfully, to the point where even Emma, who was kind of half looking over my shoulder, because we've got 2 TVs, you see.
Did you get the one under the chin?
Yeah, and even she went, ooh.
It's a nasty one. It's, she does go through the ringer in it. That is...
but I love that. I love it's a great story being told. Yeah. And that's part of the thing that hooks you in, because it's drawing into the story.
Well, obviously, written by Rhiannon Pratchett, which anyone knows, obviously, the daughter of the great Terry Pratchett, but also a very accomplished gaming writer in particular.
Yeah,
she did Mirror's Edge.
She did,
well. And Beat Buddy, which I reviewed for the old podcast, which she does well. But she's done a lot. I like it when she's attached to something. There always this thing of, it's Rhiannon Pratchett, it's going to be another feminist dream. Because she knows how to write a good female character. I mean, like, Faith in Mirror's Edge had barely any dialogue. It wasn't really much of a game more than a tech demo.
Yeah.
But it felt more than what it was.
Yeah.
Because the writing was good. It was just enough. It was a very minimalist game. And she wrote it very carefully. She didn't just layer it all
and then it was put together extremely well around that as well.
And that's what Tomb Raider
pulled
does as
everything
well,
together.
Is it has... At the heart, it is what would make a privileged teenager become this globe-trotting hero.
Yeah, that we all know.
Yeah.
Really
And we've seen like Tomb Raider Revelations and stuff like that. We've seen young Lara, but it never felt... She was always a hero.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. You've got to have a motivator.
If you're going to have an origin story, you've really got to get to the bones of it.
Would Batman have been a hero if he hadn't have had such a traumatic childhood?
Yeah.
Like, he'd have just been another billionaire playboy. And he'd have just pissed his life away.
Yeah.
And instead, you've got to have these tortured souls. You've got to have that motivator. And with Tomb Raider, the thing that really drew me in more than anything else was Lara wasn't behaving in any way a heroic fashion.
No.
Like, there were times where they were just told to just surrender and people won't get hurt, and she wouldn't.
Yeah.
She was constantly fighting. She feels she's got something to prove. And
but the
people die because of her, as well as because she's trying to help them.
But the with those sequences is there's that element of kind of danger. It's a game. I mean, you know it's a game, but you're kind of like, oh, how am I actually going to get out of this one? And you know you're like 10% in the way in, so that, well, I obviously get out of it.
Yeah.
It's like James Bond.
Yeah.
It's like, he survives. He's James Bond, for God's sake. But how does he get out of it? Ooh.
But here's the thing. The exciting thing about James Bond is you never know who else is going to survive. And that's what happens with Tomb Raider. You know Lara Croft's going to survive. You know she's going to go through the ringer, but...
Are you going to get attached to this character, and then in the last minute...
And
then it's like,
they do kill off characters that you genuinely didn't think would be off.
Yes.
And there's times where And this is what happens when you get really good game writing, in my opinion, is you get characters where you feel like you want to save them, but there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And when a game takes that kind of being able to be involved away, it makes you very involved more. The two games that did it most for me, The Darkness, if you've played that.
Only very briefly. I tried.
You're basically quite early on. Not that long, but you're held behind some glass by the darkness while you watch your girlfriend getting killed.
Yeah.
And the game's physically stopping you. You could stop it if the character in the game let you, but you couldn't. And you're then forced to witness something that you don't want to witness. But more so, Heavy Rain. So I don't know if you've.
I had a quick play on Heavy Rain.
So did you get to the point where the accident happens right at the very beginning?
Yeah, I got just past that bit, so I didn't get particularly deep.
But you played a bit that's important. Basically, it's, and as we're both parents, we'll know that's losing not just the death of the child, but actually that moment of looking and not seeing where your child is, and then suddenly the game's throwing these crowds against you.
Yeah,
and you're pushing, and the game's pushing against you. And up until that point, you can open the orange juice, you can play with the kids, you can do this, you can do that, you can do everything.
Yeah.
Everything that's there, you can interact, and you can do exactly how you like. And then suddenly, you've got no control over what's happening. And you're trying, and you want to, but there's nothing you can do to change that one key point.
Yeah.
And you feel helpless. And that's exactly how you would feel, I imagine, not having gone through it and never wanting to.
Yeah.
But that whole feeling
they're trying to capture that feeling.
Yeah. And you only get that if you've had control. It's like that kind of thing of saying, well, like we were saying about the drinking thing.
Yeah.
If you don't drink regularly, it is inconceivable that it would be difficult.
Yeah.
So with the games, and Tomb Raider does it brilliantly, where it'll make you feel for a character, and then you'll be like, oh, I've really enjoyed playing that. I was like, no, don't do that. And it'll force you in a cutscene. So you'll be forced to just watch whatever plays out, out. And it's done very well.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's engaging, it's challenging without being ridiculous, because some games, their difficulty curve can just spike and it loses its enjoyment.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this balances it very well. The challenge of it, I say, it's engaging.
It's not too big either.
No.
That's the other thing. It's foreseeable that you can complete everything on the island, every little side quest, every collectible, because you find them quite easily.
Yeah, well, I found a couple of treasure maps now, so now I'm thinking, because it opens up areas, so oh, that's it, I'll go and grab that. Yeah. Actually, while I'm here, it's a couple of hops across, and you start to get drawn into doing these little side bits.
And that's what Far Cry 3 did really well as well, is it made you want to just play in these areas.
Because that was one of the things with, certainly the first Assassin's Creed, I probably most remember this from, going back trying to find the Templar flags. It was a chore more than an enjoyment, because it's like, Christ,
and same with Grand Theft Auto.
I
mean,
you might find 9 of 10, and you're like, I can't be asked to find the 10. No. It's just so much of a chore.
There's no benefit other than achievement popping. That's the thing. Whereas with this, you're looking at something and it's giving you a bit of history or a bit more to it. And it's like we were talking about with the Grimoire cards in Destiny. If you find the letters from the Japanese soldiers and stuff like that, I mean that. Oh, am I thinking the right game? Yeah.
They're actually in the game though. You can access them at any point,
and you can read them, and it's giving you this whole history of the island. And I love that. I love that idea that you could just find bits. So, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it's not often that I particularly strongly recommend games to people because of their own choice. But I think
and the fact
now it's been out long enough that people will probably pick it up cheap. So if you see it cheap, give it a go.
Yeah. And if you've got an Xbox One or a PS4, get the definitive edition.
That's it.
Because then you get the hair. The PC version of really nice hair physics. That's in the next gen or the new gen console.
But it's also excited me for the new one coming out.
I know.
So it's made one of those games where I think actually now I'm
and
starting
the
to really see games I want on the Xbox One.
And the trailers for that have really impressed me as well, because you can see there's as much thought has gone into the next step. Yeah. Because it's not the game. The first trailer where she's just sat in a psychiatrist's office, or whoever that is, I'm assuming it's psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's the implication.
The fact that we're not looking at somebody who's come out of that and gone, oh, that was a bit.
That was a Johnny Jape.
And suddenly it's like, I don't want to stop now. If I stop, I'm going to think about it. And I need
spiral
to keep
out of control.
And it's like people, when you speak to people who've ever been, I've got a couple of friends who've been posted in war zones. Yeah. And they say, when you come back, the adjustment to normal life is almost impossible. Yeah. Hurt Locker, if the scene where he goes to the supermarket and he's just completely lost. cannot function. He sits under the highest of pressures, like diffusing bombs, and yet you give him the choice of cereal, and it's just too much for him. And that was a beautiful scene in that film. It's lost on a lot of people. I just sounded very hipster way. Yeah, most people didn't get that, guys. but it is. It's like in the grand scheme of things, it just seems a bit odd. And American Sniper as well. American Sniper? Yeah,
It's the one that's just come out.
yeah. There's a lot of that in that as well. And I think that's the thing it's doing. It's doing that kind of being through something that you've endured, and now it's a coping mechanism.
That's like we've said.
And I would like Lara Croft to be somebody who became a hero to cope with a trauma, rather than Daddy bought me these tickets and I've gone and I've raided some tombs. I'm smashing up all these artifacts in it, bruv. A bit.
It's to me, it strikes as it's a hero thing, not in the. I suppose it may be more recent thing. Sort of your heroes the past with the very like the Adam West Batman, whereas now you've got the much darker Christian Bale thing, where he's a flawed hero, and this is the kind of similar sort of thing. As you said, this isn't somebody who's gone out with a cape on and a mask going, I'm a superhero. She's kind of been pushed into these situations.
And it's also, is she a hero? Because I think she's just an adventurer.
Yeah.
Like there's no point in this film, in this game, where you think she's doing anything heroic. She's doing something admirable, like surviving all of this. Yeah. But she's not acting heroically at all. She's acting ridiculously stupid at times.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Recklessly, but that's her age.
Yeah.
So, it's very good.
And one area I might, hopefully, I can dabble in, depending on if there's still enough people there as the multiplayer side. I'll be interested to see what that's like. I want to finish the story first.
Yeah, I played a bit of it, but there weren't a huge amount of people playing it.
No, that's what I'm concerned about, because obviously I've come to it late.
Well, hopefully, if there's enough listeners who've got it, I've got it.
We can get a little...
I can jump on with you. I've got it on the 360.
We can get a little game going one night.
Yeah, worst case scenario, get 8 people.
Yeah.
Be able to play it for
a little run around.
So now I'm going to talk about some games.
Hey.
I've been playing Thomas Was Alone. Mike Biffle's game about self-aware AIs. Not on Steam though, which I have played it on, and I've played it on PlayStation 3, and I played it on PlayStation Vita, and now I've bought it on Xbox One.
So is it fair to say you quite like this game?
No, not really.
No?
I'm not a huge fan. But
you got just too much spare money. I had a spare 20 quid.
Do you know what I had? I bought a 20... I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was saying about I really want to get 3s on the Xbox One because it just seemed mental that a game that's made for mobile devices could be released on the Xbox One. Like this big new gen console with HD graphics and 3s on there, and I couldn't understand how it couldn't be anything but just like the centre of the screen, and the rest would be white. Yeah. And so I said, it's a shame I haven't got the money. He went, I'll get you a card. So I expected a £5 card, and the code came through, and it was like a 25 quid card, and I was like, brilliant, that's great. And immediately bought Thomas Was Alone. And then saw XCOM Enemy Within, which I'll get to in a minute, and some other bits and pieces, but totally forgot about buying 3s, which I still haven't bought. So apologies, mate. If you want to send another code, I'll buy it. I promise I'll buy it. So I bought it. I thought, well, I haven't paid for it. But I was interested to see how, because Curve Digital have handled the transfer across. So the other ones were Mike Biffle's game, and now they've been handled over. And it plays very well. It's the same game. Still got Danny Wallace's... it's the same game. But Danny Wallace's narration is still very good. I wanted to see how it... a year later, going back to a game that a lot of people hold up as the indie game that got them into indie gaming.
Yeah.
How that held up. And, it's good. When you've played it through a couple of times, the storyline's no longer a surprise.
Yeah.
So then you're just playing these elements. But then I found, because there's... Basically, I don't know if you've ever played it, but...
I haven't,
You've got Thomas's little red rectangle, and he can jump. That's his power.
Yeah.
And then you've got Christopher, who's a little orange one, and he can't jump as high. So you'll get to a bit where it'll be too high for him to jump, so you have to jump on top of Thomas and then jump up. And you kind of use the... It's a bit like Mickey and Donald World of Illusion, if you ever played that on the Mobiles, where you can help each other up things. It's like that, but you've got a cast of different coloured shapes, and they all do something different. So one of them's like a bouncing trampoline thing. One that most people say favourite is a blue one called Claire. She's a superhero. She can float in the toxic water. And so there's lots of jokes about superheroes and stuff. And it's all basically the story of a studio that's made some bit of software, and there's a problem, and it creates these little AIs that
try and fix it.
become self-aware. Well, no, they've appeared
Okay.
as part of a bad bit of code.
Right, okay.
And so the system tries to find a way to repair the code. So your characters are trying to avoid being
Okay, so that's
fixed.
kind of the enemy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I've heard of it, and it's one of those ones I keep seeing
a lot of
around
people
about,
have.
but I've
And
never
this is something
really
you find a lot of
looked
indie
into it
gaming
to
where
be
people know the name, but that's about it. Because
Yeah.
unless you physically play them, very often an indie game is so kind of insular.
Yeah.
It requires, I mean, they're never normally very long either.
No.
You go to play it, you've experienced it, you're out. I mean, like Proteus is just a little experience.
Yeah.
So depending on when you approach it, that's what you get. So yeah, that's the story. That's the main story, and it is just sort of platform puzzler, and it's good. It's tidily designed, and it looks very good. And there's going to be an article going up on the site, Rob, all about this. When I played Thomas Alone the first time, I didn't know 100% that it was written from the point of view of a coder writing about the behaviour of code and AI. Okay. So if Mike Biffle's background was he'd worked for Blitz, which was a company, the Oliver twins who made Dizzy.
Yep.
They formed, and they made lots of games, Fusion Frenzy on the original Xbox, stuff like that. And he kind of left that studio when that shuttered up, and I think he then sort of did a bit of kind of contract work and worked on his own stuff.
Yeah.
And this is his first proper game that came out. So he's got a history of making a game that is from a coding point of view. So he would understand that and he would appreciate that more.
Yeah.
And I think people in the indie gaming community would appreciate the whole point of this code. But I don't get all that. I don't know anything about Python or C++, or any other coding thing I can remember from the top of my head from visiting Code Academy to try and learn. Well, my eldest has chosen computer science because it's some of the first years that have properly done it as a GCSE. It's like in those, and I've been trying to push him into doing it because I think it's going to be a course that longer term will really benefit him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, Code Academy is a really good website to learn coding from." So I was like looking at that. And then his teacher said they're going to be using mostly Python. So it's like, yeah, that's on there. So yeah. But when I played it, instead, and this sometimes happens with a game, you'll overlay your own experiences and feelings on the story.
Yeah.
And if the story is quite bare bones, you flesh it out yourself. So for me, I was looking at these characters talking and interacting in a way, and all I could think of was autistic children and adults to a point.
Yeah.
Because each of the AIs has very specific focus. They like making, one of them really likes making lists, which is that's a big tick in the autism box there. Like the organisation, understanding, trying to understand the world by writing it down. Particularly Asperger's, that's there. So Thomas, for me, was a child of Asperger's. And then you've got all these other ones. Like you've got Christopher, who's frustrated by the people around him. And he doesn't like excitable people. Which again, big tick.
Yeah.
There you go. You've got a side effect of having a mind that doesn't understand emotion too much. And each of the characters comes in. It's like, wow, that element is exactly the way. And the way it's written and the way they react to each other. And there was a bit of dialogue which was, why can't people just agree? Why do things have to be different? And they're exactly the sort of questions that an autistic mind would ask. And all the way through, that's what I imagined the game was going to be. I thought it was going to be like Pull Out, and it'd be like a parent who'd created a machine for like a sick child to be like a sensory room, kind of similar to that. And yeah, it was for me. That's all I could see until I finished the game, and the ending made it very clear that wasn't what it was. But up until that point, it was like, I get this. This is being very clever. This is talking all about disability, but in a way that's not obvious. But I know because I know this. Very smug
bloody
way of doing
hipster
it.
again.
But then it wasn't that, and I was really disappointed because I felt, and this is a bit hipster, I felt my ending was better than the actual ending of the game.
Mass Effect 3 all over again.
No, even more than that.
Oof.
Like I've never been as disappointed by an ending as I have with this game. Like I play games where they've just ended. And I've been like...
Destiny, you mean?
I'm more annoyed by the end of Thomas Alone. And yeah, it's a fine sound ending. I mean, there's just a tiny little cutscene that just basically suggests something. But for me, it was just the frustration that what could have been a really good way of talking about disability and bringing that into a game. Because, like we were saying earlier about challenging subjects, I can't think of many games that have dealt with disabilities.
Yeah.
They tend to be indie fare. So it seemed right that game could be about that.
Yeah.
And so the article I'm going to write is going to go through a little bit more of the information I've got and kind of the research that I've done that's backed up. But it's always very interesting that kind of I'm still now playing it. I think, that's definitely better because from that point of view. So I like that. I like because it's such a bare bones game that I can still, if I want, project that storyline over it, and it works. So, that was good fun. I have been playing Transformers Angry Birds as well.
Yeah, I saw on your list. They're all super organised, and we have our little running order. And I noticed that one because the last Angry Birds I played was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's really the only one I've played to any great length. And I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But how far can you push the Angry Birds format?
Well, here's the thing. It isn't an Angry Birds game in the sense of you're not flinging a bird at a tower. So Angry Birds obviously did it. Angry Birds Rio did it. Angry Birds Star Wars did it. Angry Birds Stella did it. But then you had things like...
Because that's what put me off Transformers. I'm like, it's just Angry Birds with the Optimus Prime's mask on.
Well, this is it. Instead, what it is...
I didn't delve too deep
into it. It's a Transformers game that's had Angry Birds overlaid on it.
Right, okay.
That's the bit that is interesting. So basically, it's a side-scrolling shooting game.
Okay.
So your character's running along, and it's like a shooting range, shooting gallery. And you'll aim at the blocks and the pigs in the background. And you shoot them, and then you get a combination of points and gold, and then you're at the end, and you leave level. You've got a health bar, you can be attacked stuff. And that is it. You do
it's like an old side-scrolling...
Yeah. And it's got...
90s game.
The opening of it... 80s, actually.
Yeah.
It's its big inspiration. It's got like a VHS-style intro movie. And when you get damaged, it goes like juddery, like tape distortion and stuff like that. It is a good retro-feeling game. And it doesn't get the respect it deserves because of the Angry Birds license. Yeah. Like, if it was just a straight Transformers game...
Yeah. Well, I hold my hands up. That was what put me off.
And it will put a lot of people off.
Going in for it.
Because that is the issue. When Star Wars Angry Birds came out, I know a lot of people were like, what a waste of a license. Star Wars Angry Birds is a really good game.
Yeah,
it's a really good use of the license from both sides. It doesn't it's not Angry Birds using Star Wars to sell itself, because the actual core gameplay is Angry Birds Space.
Yeah.
But with a Star Wars skin. But then with Star Wars Angry Birds 2 in particular, they've really started to work on actually the differences in the characters and the personalities of the characters, and it worked well. But I think they've realised that there is only so far you can take some franchises.
Yeah.
And flinging a transforming Angry Bird at a tower won't work.
Yeah.
Because
it's the same thing again and again.
We turn into a plane, won't you, and just shoot it. So instead, they were like, well, actually, let's do a retro 80s kind of side-scroller. And I really like it. But the only way you can explore the map is to basically use the coins to level up your characters. And each level of character gives you a new level. And then when you get to, like, say, 20, you unlock a new section of the map. Another 20. But as you get further through the game, it required so many coins to level up that you have to play for about a week before you got another level.
So you're kind of hitting the point we discussed.
And it wasn't pushing me to buy anything.
With other games, Yeah,
it wasn't pushing me to buy anything at all.
Not
it was
in
simply...
your face.
It was... I mean, I guess I could have paid and probably finished it by now. But it didn't make that the primary objective. The primary objective seemed to be keep playing the game. Because when you play the game, you'll unlock more stuff. Just enjoy playing the game. And so levels would vary in difficulty and content would shift.
Yeah.
And I stopped playing it for a little while. And I left it on the iPad because the kids like playing it. And one thing I like about my iPad is I've got it on automatic update.
Yeah.
So when a game updates, now because the tile changed sometimes. And it had changed. It looked a little bit more polished. And I went in and all the overlay, just little icons have been polished up and made look a little bit better and a bit more. And they changed intrinsically the whole game. So you've got costumes for characters, which so far I haven't been asked to buy any. They just seem to appear every now and then, which is quite good. They've grouped characters into squads. So like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee will go into one squad, and then Energon's squad. And if you've unlocked all the characters, you get a coin bonus if you use those characters. You've got Skywarp, who's a Decepticon, and you can use him to blow up an event. So if it's an event that's too difficult, like you can't do a very hard mission, you can actually blow it up, still get the base level of coins and unlocks given to you, but it's just cleared it off for a bit of premium currency. Yeah. But you get a lot of premium currency. So It doesn't affect you. And yeah, they unlocked a whole great new area, load of new characters rather than just variations of older ones as well.
Yeah.
And changed how leveling up works. So now, every day, you get a bonus level, which gives you about 4,000 or 5,000 coins.
Yeah.
Most of the updates, the upgrades are like 20,000. So 4 days, you've updated the character again. So they seem to have addressed every major issue.
Okay, good.
And it's a really good little game. So yeah, I should be going back to that more often.
You've sold it to me, I think. I might have to give that a go.
It is definitely worth going, and don't skip the intro, because the intro is brilliant.
Oh no, I mean, part
a
of
lot
the
of
point
people do.
Games is to go for the intro.
But this is the thing, like so many people now, and I notice it with my kids, and I have to write physically, like, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't want to watch this bit. I don't want. So you think a team of animators probably worked for 2 months to make that. You just give it the 30 seconds that it runs for. And the Transformers on the whole experience is very well put together. The soundtrack's great as well. It is a proper like 80s soundtrack. Yeah. And you can buy it as well as far as now. I think it's on iTunes. It might be on like SoundCloud. Sometimes you can buy them if you place like that. So that's all on there. But yeah, very good game with very few microtransactions. Now finally, this is the dangerous one. Anyone who knows me knows I really love XCOM Enemy Unknown. I genuinely think it's the best game on 360 and PC and Mac and iPad and any other console it's ever come out on. I own it on PS3 on disc, Xbox 360 on disc twice, PC and the Enemy Within. I can't run either of them. iPad, can't run it. Anything it's available. I'm now about to buy the board game as well, which has an iPad app next to it. So you play and then events in the game happen on the app, which is quite cool. But I absolutely love it. I love the XCOM universe, and I love turn-based strategy with a sci-fi element. I love Command and Conquer type things like that. Although that's not really turn-based, but it plays. I used to play Command and Conquer like a turn-based game. I'd build everything up, I'd send it all out, that'd be my turn. Enemy Within is essentially an expansion. I don't know how much you know about the XCOM games.
Because it had that turn-based thing, honestly, I was kind of put off it. They were never my thing. So it wasn't
most
one
people
I
think
really
turn-based, they
went
think Japanese RPG.
No, I kind of have drawn the Command and Conquer comparisons to the stuff I'd read and little videos I'd looked at. So it just
scrap that.
Yeah.
Have you ever played on Game Boy Advance Battalion Wars, that kind of Advance Wars and stuff like that?
Okay, I think I know what style
you move them around and then you put them together and then they fight. It's more similar to that, really, but with a kind of Command and Conquer style look and a 90s alien invasion storyline.
Right.
And so you're in charge of a squad, but you also have an entire base to manage as well.
Yep.
And so you're hiring and leveling people up, and then you send these people out, and you're in control of everything. So you'll move. You'll have a limited range.
Yep.
And you've got basically 2 moves, or you can use 1 move to run. So you can move forward, advance, and then shoot. Advance, take cover. Advance, go into like lookout or whatever. Okay. And that's the game. And basically, you play through this alien invasion. You try and fight it, and you've got at the same time balance the whole world because you're sending satellites out and ships to basically protect the skies above certain countries. And if you do that well, they'll send you money to fund you. If you don't do it, they'll pull out. And eventually, the game loses if everyone pulls out.
Yeah.
Or everyone dies, and then everybody pulls out anyway. Enemy Within, as an expansion, it kind of... I mean, it's the same people or the same company that did Civilization.
Yep.
So... Not similar,
just listening to you describe it, there was kind of that Civilization-esque edge to what you were saying.
It is, and when they did the expansion, they did it, and they said they do an expansion the way that we only can.
Yeah.
In the sense that it is still the same game at heart, but everything else has changed around it. So it just improved in every way possible. And the biggest improvement is a thing called meld. So on each level, there are these like little glowing towers, and they will, after 5 turns, they'll usually explode. And so you've got to get to them and capture them before time's up. And then you collect this meld. It's just like fluid. And the story explains that they've looked into it, they've researched it. And it's basically like a blood plasma, but like biomechanical blood plasma. And so if you inject it into the bloodstream, you can basically go a genetics route or a cybernetics route. Right. So you can either genetically enhance your soldiers so they're tougher, their bones don't break, their eyesight's better, they can shoot further, or you can go down the kind of cybernetic route, where you actually physically make them into walking battle suits.
Yep.
And you'll graft bits of metal onto them and stuff, and they'll permanently become that.
Yep.
But they'll be a very formidable weapon in the game. So you can mix between the two and choose how you like it. Changes the game massively.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Because instead of now just having like a soldier class or a medic class, now you've got a tank who walks behind you and talks.
Yeah.
I like that. So that's a massive change.
Yeah.
And it's added new enemies to fight against, but they're right from the very beginning of the game, they can appear. So it's just
freshened everything up.
Yeah.
Almost.
And the Xbox version is the entire first game plus all the expansion content all in one package. And it was on sale for about £6.70. And I thought, I've played the first XCOM for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
It's like Command & Conquer Red Alert, as I've said numerous times before. It's the sort of game I could just put on, play a couple of maps, almost like a skirmish mode. Like ignoring the story, just play the map.
Yeah.
And now I've got the ultimate version of it playable. I wish it was on the Xbox One though, because I've got the Xbox 360s in the front room.
Yep.
The Xbox One's in my bedroom. And normally I'll just sit in there at my desk, play a game on the Xbox One. I haven't really touched it that much because
Of XCOM.
And the other day, I had, I think, 10 hours in which to do a list of things I needed to get done. 9 of those hours were on XCOM. It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific, and I enjoyed every single
I'm
minute.
starting to see why episode 3 took so long to edit now.
There is an element of that, yeah. I was actually editing that while playing XCOM, but I would play a level while it rendered the audio or amplified. Not that you could tell from the episode it went out, but it was amplified and cleaned up a lot. And that takes a long while for a 2-hour-long episode. So in between, I was then doing a level. I was like, I'll just finish this. I was only 35 seconds. I'll just do one more level. It'll be okay. It'll wait. But yeah, I'm going to be playing that a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest threat to me getting my 42% on games because A, I've just had another 1,000-point achievements to try and get, and B, I will sink so much time into that. I mean, that would be like my Football Manager or my Destiny. Yeah. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get back into Destiny SX1 now because I've got that. It's a risk, and we've got Saints Row 4 Re-Elected and Dying Light coming out next week. Yeah. Both of which I was going to pre-order, but I got that now. And I'm like, now from a podcast point of view, I should get them. But then from a gaming point of view, I got that one. And I got XCOM, and it's there, and it's ready now. I don't have to install it. I don't have to wait 2 hours for it to play the game. Just turn it on, play the game. That's marvellous, the Xbox 360. Unless you got an update. But even then, they're only about 20 minutes most. And yeah, it's weird how like one game can just sort of pull you back into a system that you kind of
is it that weird
away from.
I mean, we joked about it, but I have it myself. I almost repeat myself to a point because I really enjoy Destiny. Yeah, I like having my little sessions, as I've mentioned before, little fire team with friends of the show, the Flares, and we play that regularly, probably 3 nights a week at least. Yeah, even if it's part of the night, and then I'll play Tomb Raider. And again, Football Manager is easy for me to pick up on the laptop. Lazy Sunday, I can play that while Annabelle watches a film or something, or she decides to have a nap, which is becoming rarer and rarer as she gets older. But you get hooked into these games, and I think it happens to everyone.
I can't afford to get hooked into them, though, Rob. I know I can afford to. I'm saving buying other games, but I can't afford. I mean, we're supposed to be putting out this, which is going to be like the premier gaming podcast in the UK. No, it's not. But there will be people listening who, and we've had in reviews where they're really appreciative of the fact that we're going to depth on games that aren't necessarily the latest, greatest, because it's good for a budget. I mean, there's a Tomb Raider. We were saying you can pick up for a good 5.
So this is kind of from I'm speaking from that point of view in a sense because I do live on a budget.
Yeah, most people do.
So I'm looking at the budget titles. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've got a little stack of stuff I've compiled.
And there will be people who have bought these games and probably have just left them to one side because thinking, well, something else will come out. And it happens. You'll build up. I mean, from my collection, I've got a lot of 360 games and I probably haven't played half of them. Yeah. Or I've played them, but only just to try them out. And I've never sat down.
That was all right. Next.
Yeah, I'll come back to that. And then you never do. And sometimes it's very hard to go back. I mean, like with Tomb Raider, you're very lucky because it's an exceptionally good game. But if that had been, say, like a 2006 launch title, from a graphical point of view, at least, it's going to be quite difficult to get into. Yeah. And I say it's a lot with retro games. Like, I can play a Mega Drive game without any issue. But if I try and play a PS1 game, my eyes just go, oh, God! Why is the man made of triangles, Dad? Well, no, Dad's not here. Don't know why I even said that.
But I can kind of relate to that, because Emma and I started trying to play Halo Combat Evolved. Right. Which is obviously a HD remake of the original Halo on the 360, and I just couldn't cope. I couldn't. No, where's the sprint button? And even Emma was like, "His graphics are terrible." I'm like, "These are the HD remake graphics." No, they're not. I'm like, "Look, if I push the back button, these are the original, and he's the." Oh yeah, look, doesn't look that great, does it? I mean, she still loves Halo underneath, and that was always her thing, and I think it would probably always will be.
Yeah.
So she'd always forgive some of the cracks because of the other elements, whereas I'm maybe a little bit harsher on it. Because then we played Halo 4 at the weekend, and it's like, this is so much better.
Game, isn't it, as well?
Well,
it
yeah,
plays
it played so much better. I'm like, I think we did a couple of levels on Legendary. So much smoother, like, right, should we do one more? But yeah. Whereas the original Halo CE, it was like, can we just stop now?
Yeah. I mean, it might have been if you'd never played any other Halo games. Might not have been so bad. Because it is like, when I went back to Gears of War 1...
Even then, if you've played
Gears of War 1 felt
Gears,
so clunky compared to Gears 3. Even though intrinsically it's the exact same game. Graphically, there's not huge differences.
Yeah.
But there were just little bits that you think, oh, I wish I had that. Or I wish this was in there. I wish that enemy was there. And you do get that. I do hate that when you kind of get it back. But, I think, from my point of view, budget gaming isn't necessarily bad gaming at all. It's whether it's a partner sharing game or whether it's going for a bargain bin. I mean, go to game any time. You can pick up Tomb Raider for £6-7, I'd imagine. I can't imagine it being much more. I mean, I know it's game as well. I know it's game, and they might charge £20, and they could charge, and it's a fair price for the game. But you'd find it. We sell it for £7 in my shop, so I'm just basing it on that price what I charge it. But then I keep forgetting I'm not game. I'm better. But yeah, and if you've got a friend who's got it, ask a friend. I'm obviously not you, Rob. I'm talking to the listeners here because you've got it already.
Yeah,
and you could have borrowed it off me, but you got it anyway. So if you are listening and you haven't played it, play it. And if you haven't got a friend who's got it, buy it. But don't get the digital version. Buy a physical copy. Because then if you don't like it, you can trade it back in for 50p and get a copy of Tiger Woods 06. For free. But yeah, so XCOM Enemy Within is going to be a big threat to my Xbox One.
Yeah.
I think while I was doing that, I was actually... The other thing I've done, and in relation to my New Year's resolution, which was to finish more games, I actually went through my Xbox One and I've deleted a load of installs. So I've taken it down to half the games. I've left all the kids' ones on, but I think I've left myself 7 games. I've got to finish 3 of them before I can buy a new one.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen now. I've got XCOM. So I might just uninstall all of them, just leave it for the kids.
This
kids go upstairs and play on that lovely shiny
pretty
HD
much
console.
ruins at least 2/3 of the last section of the show. Because...
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
What's the next subject on our running order?
So the next subject, let's move on.
Because
this is an
XCOM is blatantly going to ruin this.
An interesting website. Well, this is never going to happen. SteamLeft, which I showed you earlier.
You did.
I meant to load it up, but we can remember what it said. SteamLeft.com is the sort of website you should go to if you ever want nightmares. Now, it won't affect you. Because you're a normal person who doesn't have a problem like I have.
I have a very small collection of Steam games.
I have an addiction to
2 of them are Football Manager games.
Bundles and sales. I can't play the games. That's the issue. And Steam, what SteamLeft does, boys and girls at home, is you put in your Steam user ID, or you can sign in via Steam if you can't remember. Do you want to pause then?
I was going to let you talk while I get drinks.
You can go and get drinks, yeah. Well, I'll keep talking and then I'll edit it. Yeah, the juice is up there or something. Put what you like in.
Well, I thought if I did it quietly while you were talking, explain it to everybody.
Yeah, I'll explain that while you go make a drink, Rob. He's still in the kitchen. We're at the bouncy castle. He can still shout.
Hi.
There you go. Well, I picked you up quite well. Yeah. Mumbly Joe.
Yeah.
Somebody said today that on the podcast, it sounds like Shouty Nathan and the teacher from Charlie Brown. His mumbly friend. So yeah, SteamLeft.com is a website you go to. You sign in with your Steam details, and essentially it tells you how many hours and minutes it would take for you to complete every game in your Steam library. And I think it takes into account how many you've already finished as well. I don't think it's just every game in total. I think it's what's left in your game. I think that's what the website's name suggests. So I've got, Rob, 4,776 hours and 34 minutes.
What does that translate to in days, Nathan?
Well, if we say 48 4,800 is 200 days, isn't it?
Yep.
So we'll say roughly... Oh, it's 199. I've written it down. 199 days.
199 and a bit, I think.
Yes. So 199 solid, straight, 24-hour days before I've finished every game in my Steam library. That's not taking into account I can't actually load them.
Yep.
They won't run. That's not taking into account that some of them are just going to be too hard and I'm going to take ages to finish. It's terrifying. Now, it did suggest I could watch all of the Lord of the Rings films about 400 times, didn't it?
Yep, including the Hobbit films as
Including
well.
the
Let's just clarify. This is the whole shebang.
I could do...
the Hobbit films
Was
as
it
well.
32 marathons?
More than that, wasn't it?
300 marathons? It's a lot of marathons.
There's a lot of marathons.
I could cycle
even
back.
though we probably cut it down a bit to allow for our
one that
physical
wasn't on one that wasn't on the one I showed you tonight. I could travel to Venus. Actually, just travel to Venus via conventional space travel.
You could travel to the New World and back
with Columbus
5 times,
Yeah.
or you could travel to the New World with Columbus 5 times.
Yeah.
You go there, back, and
Yeah.
then there again.
I could the other one that I could contract and then hopefully obviously survive Ebola 35 times. That was another one I saw. I was like, if you've contracted and survived Ebola 35 times, they need to be taking your blood, giving it to everyone in Africa. It's a brilliant website. It's horrific. If you've got a large Steam library, it is just awful. But it's very funny, and I heartily recommend it. So that's SteamLeft.com. Now, what's all this about Kinect, Rob? What's your problem with Kinect?
Well,
are we talking about the 360 Kinect specifically at the moment?
Yes, yeah.
Because the Xbox One Kinect is marvellous.
I love the idea and technology. I think everybody's kind of been the same from the start. The idea behind it is brilliant.
Yeah.
If it works. And this is where I've kind of got stuck because it basically became a thing that sat on top of my television.
Like an exploding penguin.
Effectively, yes.
That's a Monty Python reference.
Yeah.
Kids.
Ask your parents. And I just struggled to find games that inspired me to want to buy them.
Yeah.
I think I got Emma one of the Dance Central games, and eventually that just started gathering dust like a lot of other games.
Yeah.
And it just never really seemed to gain a lot of traction. There were some very cool features. I know in times past we did some stuff for the Holocaust blog. We used our avatars and we inbuilt things to record little video casts of our avatars dancing around. And that was a nice little thing, and we had a little play.
Do you not think, though? I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate because I really like Kinect. Yep. Now, when Kinect was first...
I love the idea behind Kinect.
When Kinect was first announced at E3, I believe it was E3, it had the whole Peter Molyneux Milo trailer.
I remember,
And it had
famously.
the guy who kind of lifted his foot up and said, what's the bottom of your avatar foot look like? And it was saying, imagine all this. Imagine you could...
And I love that idea.
use that.
I bought into that idea
Now,
as much as...
for me, a lot of people will say, look at all that bullshit. Look at all that stuff they said that never happened. I've seen all of that happen. Right? I've played
games
games...
because they showed it, so there was obviously something,
some of the stuff
there.
Yeah, some of the stuff they had was tech demo. So not easily done. It was like manipulated in some way.
Potential that could be demonstrated via the demo.
Exactly, yeah. So for me, I really like, and I've put on here, Kinect Sports and Kinect Adventures, absolutely unsurpassed. Right? Dance Central used as well.
Yeah.
Like, I would also argue that any dancing game has a limited shelf life. I had the dance stage games with the Mat, the PS2, played them huge amounts, thinking, hey, look, I'm getting fit and I'm dancing, and it's cool. It's like the one in the arcade. And then you think, oh, God, it's a lot of effort. Yeah. And you sit down again and you want to get into a passive position because gaming is passive. And what Kinect was asking you to do was stop playing the way you've played for 20 years and start playing in a way that it's not long lasting. You can't physically dance for 3 hours. You could sit and play Fallout for 3 hours and lose that
I've
time.
done many times.
You could play Fallout for 10 hours. This one's I could play XCOM for a whole day. But if I played Dance Central with the intensity I play XCOM, I would be dead right now.
Yeah.
And this podcast would be boring because it would just be you boring twat.
Me in just a flat line.
Yeah.
So, Nathan, what do you think of the Destiny expansion? Well, that's a very interesting point.
Lots of obscenities there we're going to have to censor out. But yeah, so Kinect Sports and Kinect Adventures did connect really well. Kinect Adventures in particular, I mean, that was one that got bundled with. That's the Wii Sports of Kinect.
Yeah.
And it did. I mean, there was games on there where you plug up the holes in the fish tank and stuff, and it was just silly little stuff that got people up, and it would show you replays, and it was great. Then you had stuff like Fighters Uncaged and Rise of Nightmares, where it didn't work so well.
No.
Because what Kinect 1 didn't do was that.
Yeah.
Now, what I've done for people at home is I thrust my hand towards Rob's face with a dramatic impact. It could see an outline really well, but it couldn't judge distance very well. And so sometimes it would go, you're too far away, you're too close, too far away. And it's because it couldn't really work out where you were. It didn't have that ranging.
Yeah.
It needed so
much. I mean, that was one of the things that was part of the problem. I don't think a lot of people necessarily had the space to play.
It was made for an American house. That is exactly it. I remember seeing a Japanese guy had put his Xbox out on like a balcony, coming with the Kinect camera shining into his apartment, which had completely cleared, and he was stood against a back wall, and it was still saying he was too close. And it is, but if you think about American Lounge, no problem. If we were sat in an American Lounge right now, you could go to the far wall, and I'd need Deirdre Barlow's glasses to see you at all. So the Kinect technology, I think, was one of those things that was built without people in mind. It was technology first, and then practicality later.
Yeah.
Kinect 2, they've addressed that.
Yeah.
That's been done. But like I say, it was one of those things where I think the frustrations led to more disheartened experiences.
Yeah.
I think if they'd have worked on the throw range being half the distance it was, and actually just having a wider angle lens or something like that, then most people would be able to play it the way it was intended.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have gone, you've accidentally
But you still need the games to go with it. And that's where...
But then I would also bring back
can
to Guitar Hero controller.
flaws.
You buy yourself a Guitar Hero controller. What games can you play with it? Guitar Hero and Rock Band, or that Guitar Apocalypse game, and some platformers. They're very simple. Essentially, you're buying something for a very specific reason. What Kinect did was pretty much the same thing. If you bought a Rock Band kit for 150 quid, band in a box, you're only going to be able to play Rock Band games. But you don't mind because you think, well, I like Rock Band.
Yeah,
I'm going to play that. And then the new Rock Band comes out. It's sort of the same thing again. And then the new Rock Band.
But with buying Rock Band, you go into that purchase knowing you can only use it with those games.
Yeah.
Whereas Kinect's potential offered all these games in a very wide, the fish was this big, arm-spreading motion. And then it actually didn't really follow through.
But then I would counter that with, but at least it tried. Like, how many pieces of kit just immediately became redundant? Towards the end, the Kinect became a voice tool. It did. Became, I mean, I played Skyrim with Kinect voice control. It was a marvellous experience. I played Mass Effect 3 with Kinect, and I'm so glad I did, because it made me feel more sci-fi. Yeah. I walk towards a door, and I go, open, and the door goes, that's sci-fi. That's what I want. When I was playing in Skyrim, I could sort my inventory when I walked into a shop by value. How many times have you gone to the shop on Skyrim and had to scroll through 200 items to find the bones you want to sell? No, you don't have to. Connect. There it is. You want to do a dragon shout? Do it. You want your sword and shield out? You can just say.
Yeah.
And it's there. And that worked almost every single time. It worked 100% of the time, 96% of the time.
For 150 quid.
But that's the thing. Like, for me... I bought Kinect for a limited range of activity games.
Yeah.
It then had potential to do different types of games, but then it also had the availability to give the voice control.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I liked the fact that it wasn't just a gimmick. But that's the point. Like, most people, when they look at it, they do go, but it was a gimmick. It's this gimmicky camera that's just kind of supposed to play like this. Whoa.
The voice control stuff, I kind of feel like they could have done with a USB microphone. Just a little...
Well, that's because you're mumbly.
Yeah,
you haven't got a voice like me.
But
I say to my Xbox,
it wouldn't cost me 150
Xbox,
quid. I could do even a 20 quid microphone you plug into the USB thing, and then that can hear you swear at the referee on FIFA and give you a yellow card just as easily as the Kinect did.
Yeah, but it wouldn't take photos of you while you're jumping in the air.
Well,
it's a live vision camera. You could have kept that on. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe just use dance mats and wave wands and move controllers. I mean, if you think about it, the Wii and the PlayStation Move did what Kinect did, but you had to pay for expensive accessories. So if you wanted
that's a very fair point.
If you wanted 4 people to play a dance game on PlayStation, you would need 8 move controllers. Which is a lot more expensive.
I'll agree with you 100% on that one because it does quickly add up for the same group experience.
And for the same thing, if you're one guy on your own or you're a family, I mean, for anybody that ever criticises Kinect, I just say Kinect Party from Double Fine is the finest Kinect game ever made because it was just made with fun in mind. I can be a giant monster and stamp on a city with my children. Yeah. Or I can lie in lava and then burn to death. And it was just ridiculous and silly and fun. And all it took is a company to go, well, we've got this really cool camera. I think the biggest issue, and this is something that Nintendo always have, is companies just didn't support it enough. Yeah. Like the biggest franchise game that was exclusive on Kinect was Fable the Journey. Which was a poor game. Yeah. And that was a shame, because if it had been a really good Fable game that was also a Kinect game, you'd have seen dozens of copies sold every day.
Dozens of copies.
Dozens of copies. Do you know how many copies Fable the Journey actually sold? Dozens is a big improvement. But this is the issue. Like, it didn't have post-launch. It launched with so many titles that did it right the first time that there was nowhere else to go. Because Kinect Sports was perfect. Kinect Sports Season 2 didn't have the sports that were in the first one because they were the sports you wanted. It was like Wii Sports Resort wasn't as good as Wii Sports because you had the ones you wanted. What have we got this sequel for? We've already got one. Dance Central really just gave you new music. Yeah, didn't need to exist for a sequel. There wasn't a Kinect Adventures 2, thank God, because Kinect Adventures was perfect as it was. And
you're just flogging the same horse.
Exactly, and this is the issue it had: is that it launched with the strongest companion set. PlayStation Move did not a good set of games.
I think maybe you've struck upon my ultimate problem with it is that the kind of companion stuff, like Kinect Adventures, it was fun. I'm not denying that. Yeah. I probably couldn't play it in long sessions, but that wasn't the point of Kinect Adventures. No. It was a group fun family game.
Jump
at a party at Christmas.
We're on a raft. Like, oh, Rob, I'm on a raft.
Exactly.
Oh, jump.
But I maybe I'd built up no false hope in my head, as other people had. It was like, okay, this is a great starting point. And they were. I agree with you 100%. And as I said, I completely agree with the point you've made about you just need one box for Kinect to be played with a group of 4. Whereas with the Wii or the PlayStation Move, you need all these peripherals. And they soon add up. So I'm with you there. But the support from the third parties never came. No. That's probably the bit that frustrated me, because you would hope that maybe Microsoft would push it and go, look guys, we've got this thing. Look at Kinect Adventures. Great, it's a fun game, but use it for ideas. Think about this. Look, this is the kind of thing.
The one company that supported it was Ubisoft. Ubisoft, and they are my go-to company. When any console launches, Ubisoft will be there to do something. They did Just Dance for Kinect. Yeah, and what they managed to do with Just Dance, and it was almost revolutionary, and it just came too late in the day, is, and you'll know this from playing Kinect, if you've got 2 people in the same thing and you move in front of it gets confused. Yep. It was good, but it wasn't that good. What Just Dance managed to do, you can have 4 people in a normal sized room, firstly. That's a massive improvement. Secondly, it had dance routines. Now, I'm going to do this on table for Rob's benefit, but just imagine a really fancy dance routine. So this guy is going to go round there, round the back, and then in between that one, and then round.
Yeah. I think that's sexual harassment.
And the console would know exactly where you were at any time. If you laid down or stood up, it allowed you to. And all that was using the camera correctly. Yeah. And I think so many of the games just went for the basic, there's an outline. They didn't concentrate on the actual identification side of it. And they got that pegged right. And Double Fine did it as well. You could have, I think, 8 people on Kinect Party. Well, what the hell's that? That's like 8 people. You couldn't get 8 people in a room to stand in front of a Kinect camera. They're getting confused. Say, which one of you signing in? Who's got your arm out? And yet they did it. So the technology was there, but like I say, there was no support. Yeah. Now, the thing that annoys me the most is, because there was no support and because there was then the disenchantment of the gamers, Kinect as a product became immediately sullied. Yeah. So when the Xbox One was coming out and people were like, well, I don't want Kinect with it. Well, fucking you do want Kinect with it because it's awesome. When it's done well, it's brilliant. And the voice control works really well with things. You've got TVs that are gesture and voice controlled. What is that? It's Kinect and a telly. It's what we expect from devices. What is Siri? What is Cortana? It's voice control. We want voice control in everything. But because it's Kinect in inverted commas, people don't want it. And so then they were lobbying, like, I don't want to pay 430 quid, I'd rather pay 350 quid and not have a Kinect camera. Now what I'm seeing in the shop is more people asking for the Kinect version. Because they know now that there are games that require it, but there are games that are really enhanced with the voice control and the interaction. And so then they go, well, I don't want to pay 100 quid to get Kinect. That's a lot of money. Well, which did you bloody well want? Do you want a cheap console and no Kinect gubbins and no internet connection required and all that? Or do you want the product that Microsoft developed and designed and worked really hard on making a great camera system? And Kinect 2 is so much of an improvement. Mostly because they got rid of the pivot-y gears. So now what you've got is a big 1080p image. And it then digitally zooms in. So you've immediately, as soon as you go 1080, you've got a massive field of view. Camera's massive wide angles. You see my bedroom, not very big. Two of us can play a dancing game. Well, not a dancing game, we can play Fantasia, which is top half of your body. This is a bed. So that's... I could probably stand on the bed and play it, but that wouldn't be very safe because there's a window and one of my children fall out onto the patio or something. I don't know if my ex-wife would like that. It's hard to justify. What happened? Well, we were playing Dance Central on the bed and I was dancing to Wigfield Saturday night and I booty bumped my child out of the window.
Or you booty bumping the child.
You listen to Wigfield? That's child abuse. But no, it bugs me because I've got a friend who sold his Kinect camera to buy the Xbox One. He said, I don't want it straight away. So he went to CX, bought his Xbox One for CX because they would take it out of the bundle and knock some money off for you. And he got 20 quid knocked off. 20 quid?
For 20 quid, I would probably keep it. Even I would consider that one.
You only use it to just make a video Skype call. Like, I speak to my children via video Skype on the Xbox One. It's amazing. I could do it from my laptop, I could do it from my iPad, I could do it from my phone. But the Xbox One, the camera on the Kinect, will follow me around the room with that digital zoom thing. And if I'm talking, if we were both there, you started it would then focus on you. It's a really clever piece of kit. And now Twitch, how many people streaming their games, provided a commentary, no extra equipment required because the console does it. The PlayStation, loads of people tried to get the camera at Christmas, couldn't get it because it was just so short supply. And this is the bit that ultimately the only reason Kinect is unpopular is because Kinect 1 was under supported and became unpopular. And it's like you said, if there'd have been a couple more big third-party titles, like a Gears of War related...
but they've got to be good as well. It can't just be a shitty title.
Exactly. I mean, this is what Nintendo sometimes...
And this is what we said about Oculus a couple of episodes ago. It's no good just going, I've got a Mario tie-in. If it's utter shit.
It's got to work. There is a Mario game that works for Oculus. I saw a Euro game. It's not. I don't know if it's an official one, but it's definitely. I think.
But the point is, if it doesn't matter what the name on it is, if it's complete gubbins, because then people just go, that was bobbins. Why have I just wasted all this money on this?
Exactly. And this is it. I mean, for me, when you said that, because originally when Rob's, because the way the show works, peeping behind the curtain, I'll write a running order. I'll send Rob an ultimatum and give you a deadline. But like a terrorist, a clown terrorist,
dressed as a clown with a balloon, threateningly.
Custard pie bomb set underneath you. Give 5 hours, and you said something like, "Kinect. Why was it shit?"
Because I unplugged mine. Because
I just couldn't have it. I just couldn't have it. So I think I came back and went, no, we'll discuss it, Rob.
Fair. I can take what you're saying. Maybe because my experience is Kinect 1, and I went in with this hope, and I thought, again, Milo and stuff were tech demos, but for me, it displayed the potential of Kinect.
See, I wonder if your daughter had been older,
if I'd feel
whether
differently.
you'd have enjoyed it, because me and my kids had the most fun with Kinect.
Maybe, but the same problem I think would still exist is the space in our living room.
Oh yeah, well, that's your house.
It is,
but what am I going to do? A bigger house.
I got a better job. I still can't put the bigger house.
Movie TV. So
to where? I mean,
put it right in front of in front of the window. Then you got a bit more distance. Then you go right into your dining room.
Fall over the sofa.
Well, move the sofa, Rob. So you can't blame Microsoft for your lounge being small.
But this is all part of it. I mean, I bought those Nyko clip-on things.
Don't work that well.
It did help with the space.
Yeah.
But the actual quality of the little image in the bottom right-hand corner of the dashboard was just shocking. Yeah. And it's like, geez.
But do you know what? I still, because I haven't plugged Kinect back in yet, actually, because it's, I've been slowly putting stuff back on. But I do still like just when that little window's on in the corner, I just do like just every now and then just waving at it, making my hand go purple, and thinking that is still really good technology.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it sees you there, and it's. It bugs me because I was so enthusiastic about it from day one.
Yeah.
I was there at the launch. I mean, we had it at Blockbusters, and I got people excited. I sold 4 of them on launch night.
Yeah.
Mine came in, and I took it home 2 days early, snuck it out under my coat. I was like, I've paid for it already. I don't care if Blockbusters are going to fire me. I'm going to have Kinect early.
I'll take them down as a whole business.
And I played Kinect Adventures from when I got home from work right through to 6 o'clock the following morning. I was absolutely knackered. Just like sat there going, I know what
I've got to stop this leak. I've got to stop this leak.
I just wish I'd bought a slightly less aggressive game to go with it. But it never disappointed me. Kinect has never disappointed me. The only thing that's disappointed me is the companies that didn't make more. But I have some really, really great games, and I've had really great memories and fun with it, and I still put it on. And there was a promo title when the Ninja Turtles movie came out. It's just the training lair.
Yeah.
And it was just like Fruit Ninja, really. Fruit Ninja on Kinect, that's an amazing game. Because doing that, I love Fruit Ninja on tablet. Yeah. Nowhere near as good as Kinect camera. The Gun Stringer, which is from the people who did Exploding. Mr. Explosion Man. Explosion Man, yeah. They made it, and you use one hand to marionette a puppet, and the other hand to just shoot people with a pistol. Yeah, it was really good way, and it knew if you did that, that was your gun firing. I'm doing a gun beep at home. Discussing Kinect how it works doesn't work very well on the podcast. I'm holding one hand like a puppet, and then the other one's pointed. But these are the games that people didn't buy because they were downloadable, or they were just like people weren't invested in it by then. Yeah. So why would they pay for these smaller titles? Because the big companies weren't doing it. Surely the small ones were poor. Fruit Ninja is still.
I mean, was it Racketeer? Was that the right one?
Racketeer, yeah.
It's like the medievally type set one. I mean, that was fun, but again,
but it was just Angry Birds.
Yeah, the principle, and it's just things like that maybe it was a disappointment that sullied my view of things because, like you, I was so enthusiastic. And
I think I never had that point of disappointment, so I came out of it all right because I think. I have this weird thing.
I mean, I'll agree that the voice control stuff was cool, but again, you feel like I said before, a 20 quid USB plug-in with a microphone could do the same.
That's the point. If that was all it was doing, fair enough. Well, I said,
but that's all it was doing for me at the end.
Yeah. And that's how you access it. And like I was saying, I have this very weird capability of being able to actually put some really atrociously bad things and still finding the nice in it. Someone said that I could actually go into a bag of shit and still find something positive about it. And I'm not saying the Kinect was. I genuinely believe the Kinect is a great piece of kit. I think it was limited by being put into a British home, definitely. I think the camera on it could have been a better quality camera. They could have charged a little bit more for it and just made it a better quality device. But ultimately, as with the GameCube, as with the Dreamcast, as with everything else, the technology wasn't supported well enough. Yeah. And then it led to this thing. And like I said, Fable the Journey was one of the big reasons why a lot of people kind of looked at it and thought, well, Fable was really good, but this is shit.
Star Wars as well, shit? I think. Star Wars was a big title.
I mean, were they shit because of Kinect, or was it shit because they just didn't try? Were they thinking, well, we're selling this to a kiddie market? We're selling this to people who are going to be playing a lot more casually. This is like the Wii players are going to start playing.
Encroaching on Nintendo's Wii market.
Yeah, and it's, for me, that's the issue, was the attitude of the people that didn't try. Because there were a lot of developers that really did, and when they did, it shone. And Kinect 2, yes, it's got a better camera, yes, it's got a better angle, but ultimately the technology is exactly the same. It's still doing voice control, it's still doing motion control, just not as much. Yeah. It's not trying to say, well, the only games you're going to enjoy are the ones where you're jumping around. I love the fact that on Alien Isolation, if I make a loud noise, the alien will kill me. I can never play it with my children around. That's what I've done. Also, my housemates slam the doors. Yeah. I've died too many times because of my noisy bastard housemates. Dead Rising 3, you can shout at the zombies and lure them into traps.
Shitty zombies!
Well, say like there's a zombie here, right, and I'm here, and there's a gap between two buildings. I can just go, hey, hey, like that, and the zombie will go, and then fall off a building. It's amazing. Right? I love that. Again, granted, I could probably do it with a headset. But then I would be out of the game a little bit because I'd be wearing a headset. And I'm not doing that in the game. In the game, I'm just talking to a zombie like I am now. And hey, Rob! You mumbly bastard.
Fall off my chair.
But yeah, I just think, with Kinect, it's one of those that if you can find one cheap and you've never played one, people at home, do so, because there are some very good games. But just go with a lower expectation and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So, Kinect better on next gen?
Definitely.
Okay.
But I would say...
You put Rock Band on our Shinoda. Next gen, can it work?
Oh yeah,
we mentioned it, we touched on it. No, I think we should touch on it. Because we've already mentioned Rock Band.
So Kinect and Rock Band.
Well, no. We mentioned Kinect, and obviously you highlighted that if you bought the Rock Band in a box, you're kind of limited to those games. Now, they've improved on the Kinect technology in the next gen.
Okay.
There was mentioned, or some rumours of a next gen Rock Band.
Yeah.
Which we kind of briefly
Well, Harmonix sent an email out,
They did.
and filled in, and it did say, what do you want from a next gen version of Rock Band? And
but I just feel like this is a good point to talk about it.
Yeah, Alex from Harmonix did say there would be a Dance Central and Rock Band for next gen. Or new gen. I must stop calling it next gen because it's now new gen.
Current gen.
Well, no, it's still new gen. It's still new generation, but it does define between the two because they're still. I think they are both still current gen.
Yeah,
100%. But right, so Rock Band, next gen Rock Band, new gen Rock Band. I bloody want it like crack as well. I need it, and I need. I mean, we were talking earlier that you're thinking of selling up your
I am
360 controllers because are you going to play those again? I would 100% buy an entire new kit to play on new gen. I would also pay through the nose for a guitar frame that then uses Kinect camera to pick up my hand movements and see whether I'm playing like air guitar.
So like the strumming motion with your hand.
Yeah, like something like that. So like moving your hand up and down a fret on a neck and move into zones while strumming and let the Kinect. I would prefer a guitar, physical, because I do like to just tap away. I like the noise. Apart from the ones which were squeaky, some of them were squeaky. I like
the buttons used to
I like
squeak,
a click, but I don't like a squeak. But yeah, absolutely would. I would love it if I could import my old songs that I bought. That will never happen because of licensing. But I would absolutely adore it if they could work out a way of saying...
Didn't they do that with Rock Band 1 and 2?
Rock Band 1, 2 and 3, you could, providing they didn't have a licensing issue, you could... Sometimes you'd have to pay for like a key. It's same with Guitar Hero. With any downloadable tracks of Guitar Hero and the playlist from previous Guitar Hero games, you could import into the next subsequent one. So I think by the time I had Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock, which I think was the last one, I think I had
that was 3, wasn't it? Guitar Hero 3.
No, that was Legends.
Oh, it was Legends of Rock, was it?
Warriors of Rock was on the Battle Axe thing, and you were playing like through these kind of... You ended with Rushes. Is it 1812?
Maybe, I don't know. Rush.
Really big Rush album. Basically, you play the entire album. It's like a concept album. You play the whole thing. I can't remember what it's called now. It's killing me. But yeah, so you played through, and you had these like kind of legendary powers and things. But I had like a playlist of 400 odd 500 songs. Yeah, because it was just importing all of them from previous games, and I'd buy games just to get the instruction manual, so I could then use the code off the instruction manual to buy the key to get even more songs. So I bought Guitar Hero Metallica. I don't like Metallica. I definitely can't play any of the songs, but I wanted those extra songs. So when people came round and they went, "Oh, what have you got?" and I could go, "What is this cool game?" The best way to sell it to anyone is have their favourite song available, and that's what Rock Band did really well because it did have a really
good
great track
of different genres.
And so I bought a load, and anything that was DLC and stuff you could transfer over and put them over and right through to Rock Band 3. So with Rock Band 3, I had the same, and about a track list of 300, and it was great. It was absolutely marvellous. And if I could transfer it, it would be very nice, but I think licensing would just be too difficult and too expensive. Rock Band 3 sold miserably. I think in the UK, it sold in the first week 576 copies, which when you think how big those franchises were, it was such a drop.
So what, the bubble had burst?
I think the bubble had burst, but also it wasn't enough variety. Like there was just
more
another guitar. Yeah, it's just a new track list.
Isn't that the risk you have the next?
Well, with Rock Band 3, they added the little piano, the keytar thing, but playing the piano is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more difficult than the drums were.
The drums work could be hard.
Yeah.
Seriously difficult.
And so the keytar thing was like a really cool idea, but really hard. If you couldn't play the piano or a keyboard, there was no point getting it. And they did sell it without, and you had to buy it. So I did end up buying it separately just to give it a go. And no, it was... I could play the piano a little bit, but not in the Rock Band kind of way. Because the thing with Rock Band and what I think the failure of the keytar thing was Rock Band's not like playing a real guitar.
No.
Playing the piano is. Playing the drums was.
Yeah.
But the stuff where you had to have an intrinsic talent and rhythm, I'm all right at just doing that.
Yeah.
For the podcast purpose, I'm playing the guitar.
The
like
guitar,
Rock Band.
yeah.
And I can sing badly, but I can make the pitch thing shift.
Yeah. Because I was terrible at that, but Emma was always quite good at that when we played it.
Yeah, and I doubt she's got a magnificent singing voice.
She's not too bad, to be fair.
Just manipulating the vocals.
Oh, yeah, for Rock Band and guitar, completely.
Yeah, you don't need to be able to sing.
No.
You just need to go...
if you can manipulate the levels.
Yeah. And I had a friend, he used to play it, he'd turn the volume right up and then put a microphone next to it. And as long as the volume was loud enough, the music would play the right notes. Yeah. So which would then go into the microphone. So he'd have that as a second player. And he'd always get 100% on that. And it would always save him every time he died. But yeah, I just think for a lot of people, the cost of buying the next instrument was too much. And really, when particularly with the store, it used to annoy me. Every week you'd have another 10 Rock Band tracks. There was just, why release a disc?
Yeah.
You don't need to. I mean, we've done, and this is the bit that's kind of got me quite interested. Dance Central on Xbox One is a small download of about, I think, 15 to 20 songs on it.
Okay.
And the rest you get as DLC. So it's just digital and it's cheap.
And you can pick and choose if you want certain DLC.
And so it makes me wonder how they're going to approach the Rock Band thing. Because they could buy the guitar. The guitar comes with a download code, which you then enter in a console. You get the hub thing.
And you get a bass pack of 20 songs or something.
Or a rhythm pack. Depending which guitar you bought. Oh, I love it. He was begrudgingly impressed with that one for people at home. It was like, yes, I see what you did there. But yeah, and that's because you wouldn't still need a guitar. You have to. I mean, you couldn't have a Rock Band or guitar game without one. I wouldn't want one. But then I think now new gen gaming is less in one room. I don't know whether... it could be you buy the instrument you want to play. And then you can join a virtual band and your camera could put you onto a stage and it will be you lot.
So they kind of touched on that a little bit with the online play for, was it Guitar Hero Rock Band? So you could go into multiplayer playing the drums.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it synced up particularly well in different rooms necessarily.
It was all
what
right.
you need is a bit of lag. It's kind of screwed everyone.
It was good. It worked well.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is if you've got, say, like you got your Kinect camera, it could literally film you, cut out the outside and plonk you on a stage and there'd be a video realistic version of all of you playing your instruments. It would be amazing if they did that. But you need the instruments. But I wouldn't want to buy a whole band set because there's no way I'd play that. I got kids, but I'm afraid of their kids. They can't play instruments properly.
And that would still be
unless
probably
it's Kazoo Hero or something.
£150 at least they were asking for.
I'd rather pay a good £80 for a really nice guitar. I bought the Beatles Rock Band set just because I wanted the guitar. The
Paul McCartney style.
And the drums are really nice. And the microphone stand was quite useful while I was still at it. But that Paul McCartney guitar I then used for everything.
Yeah.
If I went to a friend's house to play any guitar music game, I would take my guitar on my back like Johnny Cash. Just like walking down the street with his plastic guitar back like I was the coolest guy in
This
town.
is why that man was praying for your soul outside the church earlier.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that, did we? If you've seen on Twitter, as we drove back in, I showed Rob where it was. Just around the corner from our house, there's a church, and there was a guy who was stood at the gates of the church. And it's quite a way away from the actual church. I'm guessing he isn't allowed to walk on the land. He's probably had a restraining order or something. But he was loud, and I'm talking Southern States gospel praying. Like, praise the Voyager, Jesus Voyager. Praise the Voyager, I nearly said there. I love Star Trek Voyager.
Oh, the Janeway.
Oh, the Cardassian Doctor. No, he wasn't Cardassian, was he? He was that thing.
Neelix. No, Neelix wasn't the Doctor. The Doctor was Robert Picardo. He was a hologram.
Oh, yeah.
On Voyager.
Deep Space Nine I was thinking of, and he wasn't Cardassian either. So, and he turned around to me while praying and said, and pray for this poor tortured soul. So
you've got that look about you.
Yeah. But no, I would pay a lot of money for a good guitar, and it would be good. And I'd like it to not be plastic.
Yeah.
I'd like a wooden guitar.
Ooh.
That would be nice.
That'd be interesting.
But yeah, so I think we'll round it up there. I was going to talk about 4 in February, but we can leave that today, and we'll come back to that properly next week. Follow us on Twitter at We Are the Holocaust with the letter R, not the word R, because of the Shambles. I'm at Bounceable and HR2B.
And I'm at Rob McGregor 35.
Visit website lollicourse.co.uk. There'll be adverts. There won't be adverts. There'll be
full of adverts.
There'll be articles and hopefully something on there from our video friend Mark. Email us at weirdlollicourse@gmail.com. Review us on iTunes. Share with your friends. All that stuff.
Hey.
Hello, housemate. That's my housemate, the one that gets aliens to kill me. Walking in. We'll see you next week for episode 5, which is called Peter Sutcliffe is My Best Friend.
Oh.
He's not my best friend, he's a murderer.
Yes.
He's dead, isn't he? I know he got stabbed in the eye with a felt tip.
That was long. No, he was stabbed on a screwdriver, didn't he?
I thought it was a felt tip pen.
A screwdriver. I think he's still
We'll
alive.
Google it, and then next week we'll find out who was right, and whoever was wrong will have to do a physical dare.
Just stab ourselves in the eye with a felt tip.
Wave at the people, right?
Bye.
I'm sure Peter Sutcliffe was stabbed with a felt tip.